All right, with that introduction, I can't wait to hear what I have to say. Thank you so much. That is wonderful. Kate, Laura, awesome job. That was just terrific. I'm thrilled to be on stage with you, and I'm excited for everyone here. Thank you for that terrific introduction. It's great to be with all of you. President Kerwin, Dean Carmel, distinguished faculty, honored guests, friends and family, my wonderful wife and mother of my 4 children, nice to have you here. And most of all, to the graduates of the class of 2015. Now I know that I'm all that stands between you and your diplomas, so in 3 short hours you should have them. A little nervous laughter I see out there. I am truly honored to be here. It's a great occasion. And when I was invited to come and give this commencement address, it reminded me a little of what my mother said when she found out I was going to be chairman and CEO of EY. The press called her up and said, "What do you think of your son becoming chairman and CEO of EY?" And she didn't miss a beat and said immediately, quote, "No one is more surprised than me," end of quote. So thanks, Mom. Clearly we need some PR training, but beyond that, she would be very proud, I'm sure, of my honorary degree today, as I am, as well as being here with all of you. Graduates, as I stand here today at this important milestone for all of you, there's a short story that occurs to me about a little boy who was pulling a wagon. He walked a while, and the wheel fell off the wagon, and he said, "I'll be damned." And he put the wheel back on. He walked a little longer, and the wheel fell off the wagon. Again, he said, "I'll be damned." But this time, there was a preacher walking behind him. And the preacher said, "Little boy, when something bad happens, you shouldn't curse. You should praise the Lord for all the good things in your life." And the little boy put the wheel back on. They walked together for a little while, and again the wheel fell off. But this time, remembering what the preacher said, the little boy said, "Praise the Lord." At that moment, the wheel lifted itself off the pavement into the air and reattached itself to the wagon. And the preacher this time took one look at the little boy and said, "I'll be damned." Today, as your parents and friends look upon you, some of them are saying about you, "Praise the Lord," and others are saying, "I'll be damned." But either way, congratulations. This is a huge accomplishment. As you embark on your careers, I have 5 very short pieces of advice. And if you remember even one of them, that would be awesome. The first thing is to understand, and it follows a little bit from Laura's discussion just a moment ago. You are the CEO of your own life. Only you can decide where you go when you walk out of here. So here's my first piece of advice. Never stop searching for new possibilities. Now, some of you might have a great plan of what you're going to do next, and that's really good. And some of you may not, and that's okay also. But it's important to keep searching and refining that plan, because this school has prepared you to do more than you could imagine. Your degree does not define you. It does not give you a right to success, and it will not limit you either. It opens you up to a world of possibilities. Now, trust me, I've lived it. When I was sitting where you are, I never could have guessed where my career would have taken me. I spent a decade in the US government without ever studying politics. I started my own law and lobbying firm without ever practicing law. And now I lead a global accounting firm with 210,000 people, and I don't have an accounting degree. So the possibilities are boundless. The most important thing you can remember is to keep learning your whole life. Within a few years, many of you will be working in jobs that didn't exist just a few years ago. And you may change your jobs several times, and that's exciting. If you're afraid to take on a new challenge, that's a good sign that you probably should. Because the most important lessons never come from staying in your comfort zone at all. Now, it doesn't mean you should jump around haphazardly. You do need a strategy. A strategy gives you direction. but a strategy is just a start. I never really thought I'd quote my mom and Mike Tyson in the same speech, but here I go. What Mike Tyson said I thought was very profound. One thing he said. He said, everyone has a strategy till you get punched in the face. Life will throw jabs at you and you will have to adjust, but it also provides plenty of openings, and those openings are your opportunities. You just need to keep your eyes open for all of them. That leads me to my second piece of advice. The world has a way of finding your limitations, but only you will find your opportunities. You're graduating into a world with more opportunity than any previous generation has ever known. Today, almost a quarter of the entrepreneurs who are starting new businesses are between 20 and 34 years old. It's a world, if you work at EY, you can be in 150 different countries. It's a world where more than 1 million people will move to a city every week for the next 2 decades. It means every 2 months we'll have an equivalent of a new New York City. It's a world where of the 500 largest companies in the world, today, 157 of them are headquartered in emerging markets like India, Brazil, Thailand, Turkey. 10 years ago, just 50, and over the next 10 years, over half the biggest companies in the world will be companies you never heard of. It's a world where 90% of the data on Earth was created in the last 2 years. The world is changing, and it's changing fast, and it's no time to think about limits. The future is not made by people who focus on limits. It's made by people who focus on opportunities. It's made by those who understand that their attitude is the very best tool you have to prepare you for life circumstances. It is the only thing you singularly control, and it is incredibly powerful. In the face of all this dynamic change, it's up to you to find those opportunities. It is your responsibility. No one will do it for you. It reminds me of one more short story about a boxing match, it so happens to be, where a rabbi and a priest went to the boxing match. And before the fight, one boxer made a cross on his chest. And the rabbi leaned over to the priest and said, "What does that do?" And the priest said, "Not a damn thing if you can't fight." So you cannot rely on others. You have to go out there and find your own opportunity and find your seat at the conference table. There is one caveat. As much as you focus on that seat at the conference table, it's just as important to remember about your seat at the dinner table. Eventually, you're going to build lives and families that matter to you more than any job. And that's why I strongly believe in my next piece of advice. You need to find balance. And always, always keep your commitments inside and outside of work. I promise you that you can achieve balance at every level of your career. But again, it's your responsibility, no one else's. Not long ago, I was at a leadership meeting in China. It was one for our new partners, 1,000 new partners all around the world and their spouses and our leadership team. And it was one of my first big speeches as chairman and CEO. And I practiced really, really hard. I prepared for it and was ready to give a terrific speech. At least I thought it was terrific. Then during the Q&A, someone asked a question, and they said, "Listen, it's so exciting to be here. This is the most important event in my professional career. Will you be at the Great Wall tonight to take selfies with me?" And unfortunately, I had to answer that I was going to miss it. I told them that I had to go home and I couldn't spend the rest of this important event with them because I had promised my daughter a year before that when she was ready, I would take her for her driving test, never having known it would occur on the day of this event the next morning. And so I left and I got on a plane and I went back home, wondering how they might have thought I let them down. And to my surprise, very few people remember that terrific speech I thought I gave that day. But everybody remembers that anecdote. And it's incredibly important that you keep your commitments inside and outside of life, inside and outside of work in order to be successful. No matter how your career is moving, no matter how fast, it's important to stop every now and then and evaluate what really matters to you. If the life you're building doesn't leave enough room for the people and the things you love, then you need to change course. It's as simple as that. It's also important to keep perspective about your education, because here's my fourth piece of advice. Your success in life, both inside and outside of business, won't be determined just by the facts you've learned in school. It'll come down to your values, your integrity, and your decisions that you make, things you will not find in a textbook. So let me tell you a little secret. You're not going to remember all the books that you read here at this school. You're not going to remember all the papers you turned in, or all the hours and everything you studied at the university library. And eventually, you probably won't even remember all of your grades. Some may not want to. And that's okay, because your degree just doesn't represent the sum of the lectures you've gone to. You're walking out of this school with incredible use-for-life skills. You've learned how to learn. You've learned value and integrity. You've learned about teamwork. Laura talked a little bit about that. You've learned to look for what I call the why, not just the what. And this is the rule I live by. It's incredibly important. Throughout life, don't just let people tell you what to do. Ask why. That gives you the perspective on what you're doing. That gives you the ability to do it better and think better than anything they could ever tell you to do. It's what makes leaders, and it's what differentiates all of you. You all can do the what. You're really smart. But do you understand the why? I know the world is daunting today. You hear about competition in China and India and all over the world. You hear about skills gaps and high unemployment. But trust me, you're starting in an extremely good place. You're sitting here because you have the drive and skills and knowledge to succeed. In fact, in the global competitions for jobs and talent, you are more prepared than 99% of all people on earth. Today, you become graduates of a top business school in the wealthiest country in the world. You're part of a generation that is more worldly, more technologically advanced, more socially aware than any generation to date. You've lived with almost no barriers to restricting information, peoples, or nations, and you won't let any barriers restrict your success either. So still, as you're driving for the success, keep one more important thing in mind. It's my last piece of advice, and I believe my best. It's something I learned from my best friend, the best man at my wedding, and my father. No matter what I ever achieved, he'd always say the same thing to me. He said, "Mark, never forget who you are or where you came from." Every time I got a new job title, I would call my dad. And he would congratulate me, and he'd say, "Well, remember, son, I love you no matter what your title is." Those words gave me more confidence, became my barometer in every tough decision I had to make in my entire life. And that compass is what's really important for you to maintain as you move on from here. You're going to go out and you're going to have amazing careers. You're going to have the chance to build businesses and forge partnerships. You'll directly impact people's lives. But while you're doing all that great work, don't forget where you are and where you came from. Change the world. Don't let the world change you. With that in mind, I'm going to ask you one last thing. Will all the graduates please do me a favor and close your eyes just for a moment? And think back over the last several years. Every one of you has had a struggle to get here today. Maybe it was a tough exam, maybe it was balancing work and school, maybe you had a health issue, personal problem, maybe a momentary loss of confidence or lack of judgment, or maybe it was in the breakdown rooms. Now, think of the people who helped you through those tough times. Think of what a word of encouragement meant, what a helping hand provided, what another chance made possible. Okay, please open your eyes. And now join me in a round of applause for all your friends, families, and professors who helped make this day possible. So in conclusion, class of 2015, let me turn my dad's advice on you. Who are you? You are innovators. You are leaders. You are the future. You are the class of 2015. And where did you come from? You came from the Kogod School of Business at American University, and you should be damn proud of it. Congratulations and good luck.